Part 4. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Jonghu Buletin. Chapter 31. Perhaps it was because of the torture she had been going through day and night for the past 6 months after knowing all this that Huang Xinyu finally fainted in Xie Ting's arms. To her, everything that was happening now seemed to be illusory in reality, like a good dream. Xie Tingzhou picked up Huang Xinyu, and the blood from Huang Xinyu's bite was still flowing on his hand, just like Huang Xinyu's punishment for him after he dropped out of school. She resented and blamed this man in her heart, but she still couldn't bear to part with him. It is said that when a couple separates when their feelings are deepest, they can no longer have other people in their hearts. Huang Xinyu went to the police station every month every year and went to the morgue again and again to see those unrecognizable corpses. Wasn't it because of love? After her husband disappeared, Huang Xinyu raised her children well even though she was in pain. She had a strong character and worked smoothly in the cosmetics company. Otherwise, she would not have been able to raise Xie Jiayu and Xie Xing well over the years, and she chose to support her children's ideas in their hobbies. She worked hard to raise her son and daughter, and watched these two fruits of her and her husband's love finally bloom into brilliant flowers, but suddenly they were trapped in the mud because of her. This was what Huang Xinyu could not accept the most. When she suspected the scars on her daughter, Huang Xinyu secretly followed and explored all the way. Only then did she know that 2 years ago, in order to save her life, her daughter actually paid such a high price for a girl. If possible, Huang Xinyu would rather die at that time, but she didn't dare to die. If she died, her Jiayu and Xing would really have no relatives in this world. These 6 months have been so tormenting. The pain of dreaming at midnight is overwhelming. Every month when she sees her daughter smiling in front of her, Huang Xinyu's heart is as painful as a knife. Seeing her son become famous overnight and have a bright future, Huang Xinyu's plan is even more cautious. When the time comes, she will never allow anyone to know her role in it, and she will never hurt her son and daughter. At this moment, Huang Xinyu, who was held in Xie Ting's arms, was still pulling his clothes on his chest, and tears fell unconsciously. In this world, only love and family affection cannot be hidden. Xie Tingzhou held Huang Xinyu and left the coffee shop, got on the car, and the destination was Hongyu Lake. Xie Jiayu thought that she had paid the price for her mother's health. She was calculated but still wanted to protect her family. And as a mother? How can any mother who has grown up with her children for many years not feel the changes in her daughter? Because of love, they are hiding from each other, hiding their pain and embarrassment. Because of love, they want to do something for their families in their own way. Xie Tingzhou put Huang Xinyu on his lap and gently stroked Huang Xinyu's soft hair. Even though the years have changed, there are traces of time in the corners of Huang Xinyu's eyes, but Xie Ting's eyes looking at Huang Xinyu are still the same as before. He has experienced too many long lives, and knows that the gradually aging skin in this world is also the best gift of fate, so he cherishes such a short and passionate emotion even more. The car drove steadily on the road. Huang Yu was driving. He had seen the blood on Xie Ting's hands, but for the first time as a housekeeper, he did not care about the master, or at this time, the master did not need to be disturbed by others. An hour later, the car finally drove into Hongyu Lake. Xie Tingzhou carefully carried Huang Xinyu upstairs. On the 3rd floor was Xie Ting's room, which was also the future love nest of the couple. Huang Xinyu seemed to have a nightmare and was covered in cold sweat. Xie Tingzhou asked the maid for a handkerchief and gently helped Huang Xinyu wipe the cold sweat on her face and body. His movements were cautious, as if he was treating his treasure. It has to be said that the life housekeepers are very powerful. Hongyu Lake was just bought yesterday. Today, the whole villa has been equipped with servants, chefs, and various flower art masters. Everyone works in this villa in an orderly manner, and Xie Tingzhou just quietly accompanies his wife. 19 years have passed between them. These 19 years are enough to make people unrecognizable, but what cannot be changed is his feelings all the time. Huang Xinyu's body was completely limp in the soft bed, and cold sweat continued to break out on her face. She unconsciously called out softly, and Xie Zhou came over and heard her name. She fell into a beautiful dream, or a nightmare. 5 hours passed in a flash, and Xie Zhou just stayed with Huang Xinyu. When Huang Xinyu woke up again in the bed, she felt sore all over. She opened her eyes and saw her young husband. Huang Xinyu was stunned. She blinked, and then she stretched out her hand, pinched Xie Zhou's cheek as if it was a long time ago, and then pinched it gently. "Am I still dreaming?" She touched her young husband in front of her, and she suspected that she was dreaming. The previous coma was due to long-term mental depression. She had started taking psychiatric drugs in the past 6 months, so she felt that everything she met with Xie Zhou was just a dream under the influence of drugs. "I'm not dreaming, sister, I'm back." Xie Zhou took Huang Xinyu's hand, put it on his face, and then spoke. "It's all my fault. I made you and the children suffer so much. Touch me, I'm really back, and I will never leave again." When Xie Zhou held her hand and touched the young face in front of her, Huang Xinyu's memory of the coma suddenly came to her mind. Then, when she saw Xie Zhou's bandaged hand, Huang Xinyu realized that it was not a reaction to her medication, but because her husband who had been missing for 19 years really came back. For a moment, Huang Xinyu didn't know what to say. Her eyes wandered on Xie Zhou's young face. This face was exactly the same as it was back then, but she was already old. "Sister, I know you still can't accept all this now, but after reading these materials, you will know that nothing has changed. I have always been me." Xie Zhou naturally prepared all the coping methods. The unlimited black card has simulated all the information about Xie Zhou's treatment in the UK. These materials were handed over by the housekeeper Huang Yu. The information is very considerate with Chinese translations, as well as videos of Xie Zhou in a coma at each time period of each year to prove that Xie Zhou's face has not changed now because of the influence of drugs, which made Huang Xinyu look at it seriously. She lowered her head, holding the information with trembling hands, and tears finally fell on the information. Her husband, her lover, traveled through time and space for 19 years in an instant and finally returned to her side again. Xie Zhou couldn't bear to see her cry, so he carefully wiped Huang Xinyu's tears with a tissue, and looked a little pitiful. "Xinyu, I woke up and found that 19 years had passed, so I returned home overnight. I originally wanted to investigate my sister, Jiayu, and Xing, and then go home, but I saw Jiayu being wronged. I have been dealing with this matter these 2 days. Jiayu has been rescued, and Su Yunhan will also pay the price of the law. Sister, don't cry." Following Xie Zhou's words, the information about Su Yunhan has also been handed over. Huang Xinyu ignored Xie Zhou and just silently looked at the evidence of Su Yunhan's crimes in the information. These evidences are enough to send Su Yunhan to jail, and her daughter will definitely be free. At this moment, it seemed as if the mountain that was pressing on Huang Xinyu's heart was finally removed. Huang Xinyu looked up at Xie Zhou. "Where's my daughter? Have you met?" Xie Zhou nodded. "I met my daughter the night before yesterday. Today, in order to stop you, I specially asked someone to send my daughter away. Sister, Jiayu doesn't know about all the things you did, right? These are people who put their families in their hearts and put them first." Huang Xinyu looked at Xie Zhou with a cold face. "You are not allowed to tell Jiayu about this. I don't know everything that happened in the past 2 years. Do you understand? My daughter has paid such a great price for me and tried her best to hide it from me. If I tell her that I know everything, my daughter will be in great pain. I know, it is because of this that I separated you and Jiayu doesn't want you to know what happened back then." Xie Zhou nodded, reached out and held Huang Xinyu's hand, playing with her fingers like before, although these hands are very different from before. Huang Xinyu didn't say anything, but she didn't pull her hand out. Her mind was still a little confused, and she didn't know how to accept the reappearance of such a young husband. She always looked forward to it before, and went to the police station and the morgue every week, but now that she really saw him, Huang Xinyu was a little at a loss. In the end, she could only be led downstairs to eat by Xieting Zhou. When she reacted, she was no longer cold to Xieting Zhou. I knew that you had been going to the police station to check the bodies in the morgue before, and I was afraid that I was there. After I came back this time, I asked the police to restore my ID card and our marriage certificate. Look, are they exactly the same as before? Xieting Zhou showed Huang Xinyu the newly processed ID card and marriage certificate. The main reason was that his previous household registration was revoked. After it was restored, he could have a new marriage certificate. Huang Xinyu took the red book and looked at the happy appearance of the two when they got the certificate 19 years ago. Then she looked at the silly Xieting Zhou in front of her. For some reason, those unpleasant words were not said in the end. For her husband, they may have only not seen each other for a few days, but for Huang Xinyu, 19 years is already too much torrents to cross, so she dare not touch the person in front of her. After 19 years, how can they return to the loving appearance of the past? Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 32. Xie Jiayu really went crazy today. Ever since she was taken out by Lan Huan and Huo Feng in the morning, she really felt the taste of speed and passion. In the past, Xie Jiayu always liked to draw quietly in a corner, but when she drove the world's top supercar on the track, and the adrenaline rush made her addicted. From yesterday I learned how to drive a sports car, to today I dare to speed on the track. Even Lan Huan and Huo Feng did not expect that Xie Jiayu was so talented in supercars. When she drove, she had a cold face, like a murderous god. But the car rushed out at such a fast speed that neither man was so crazy. Not only that, with a beauty like Xie Jiayu and a passion for driving, I got to know quite a few people in the supercar club in one day. Yesterday, the supercar club made an announcement that all the most expensive cars in their supercar club were sold, so everyone came to the track to watch the excitement. Naturally, they saw Xie Jiayu. People who play this game are inclined to excitement. So it didn't take long for Xie Jiayu to hang out with these young masters and buddies, and there were even a few professional racing drivers among them. Xie Jiayu went crazy that day, and Lan Huan finally discovered that her godfather's daughter was different. This other little girl was not so crazy. She could drive the supercar at extremely high speeds, and it would kill her at any time. However, Huo Feng admired Xie Jiayu even more. He could feel the madness under Xie Jiayu's cold nature, just like after Xie Jiayu took Su Yunhan's money, he felt that she had to pay something for this matter to end. She understands the rules of the interaction of social interests better than many ordinary girls, and she is even more crazy and desperate for her life. On the way back, Xie Jiayu was in a good mood. She kept talking to Lan Huan about the feeling of driving each car. When they finally arrived at Hongyu Lake, Xie Jiayu was stunned by the people in the hall as soon as the door was closed. On the sofa in the living room, Xieting Zhou and Huang Xinyu were sitting there, with a sense of distance between them. "Mom! You're here!" She rushed over happily. She was wearing a reserved black sportswear today. Without hesitation, she rushed towards Huang Xinyu as excitedly as a swallow returning to its nest, and hugged Huang Xinyu. Only in front of her mother, Huang Xinyu is free from the illusion of white moonlight in the eyes of outsiders. In fact, she is quite a mother's baby. Huang Xinyu had protected her children very well over the years, so after the crisis, Huang Xinyu had no time to resist, and found that her daughter had been controlled, and it was too late to regret. "Girl, you're not afraid that I won't be able to hold you if you rush over like this?" She knew she was going to see her daughter in the evening, so she deliberately redressed herself. At this moment, she was sitting there in a lavender dress, looking very gentle. When she smiled, her familiar dimples made people's hearts flutter at the sight of her. Even though she is already in her 40s this year, Huang Xinyu looks like she is only in her early 30s. After all, she is in the beauty industry. She is engaged in product research and development. She uses many things that can resist aging on herself. Only in this way can we gain further trust from customers. Therefore, Huang Xinyu is not old. On the surface, she gives people a soft and frail feeling, but the stubbornness in her bones allows her to shoulder the heavy responsibility of supporting the family by herself when her husband disappeared for many years. Mom will definitely be able to hug me. I feel like I am the happiest person in the world now. Dad is back, and our family can be together forever. My brother's last concert happens to be this month. Let's go to the scene to cheer him on. It's not like Xie Jiayu doesn't know how to act coquettishly, her fair face can't stop looking forward to it. In front of her mother, she is used to hiding all the pain in the past. Besides, now is the best result, and her mother doesn't need to know. Sometimes Xie Jiayu understood that if her mother knew all this, her mother would be even more painful. Okay, I haven't seen Xing for a long time. He recently said that he would sign a contract with a new company. We can go and have a look then. Huang Xinyu was gentle with her daughter. The two women almost threw Xie Tingzhou aside, but Lan Huan was very rude and shouted happily. Hello godmother, I am Lan Huan. My godfather recognized me as his godson just after he returned to China. From now on, you can just treat me as your son. If you need anything, just come to me. Although Lan Huan is almost 30 years old, he gives people a very lively feeling. He smiles when he sees others, so he is naturally not annoying. After that, Huo Feng also introduced himself, and everyone had dinner together. During the meal, Xie Jiayu saw that her mother didn't want to sit with her father, so she didn't say anything more. In fact, she could see her mother's cold treatment of her father. After all, my father had indeed been missing for 19 years, and now that he suddenly came back, it was normal for my mother to be a little unhappy. So Xie Jiayu had a lively dinner at this dinner, picking up food with her mother and talking to her father, hoping to get her father and mother back together again. She could see that her father loved her mother very much. She just came in from outside. Although her mother ignored her father looked at her mother as if she were a baby. After everyone finished eating, they planned to rest. Huang Xinyu originally wanted to rest in the same room with her daughter, but was interrupted by Xie Jiayu. Mom and Dad haven't seen each other for so many years. They must have a lot of intimate things to say, so I won't disturb them. Mom has been going to the morgue for many years, rain or shine, and Xie Jiayu also went with her once. Those unrecognizable corpses are enough to scare people to death, but Mom always has to take a look to see if the dead person is her beloved one. Dad didn't change his mind, he just lost 19 years of time, so Xie Jiayu believes that Dad will definitely reconcile with Mom. Blinking at Dad, Xie Tingzhou was helpless. Seeing these juniors leave, Xie Tingzhou could only hold Huang Xinyu's hand and go upstairs. The master bedroom of this villa is on the 3rd floor, which is also the bedroom of the couple. Huang Xinyu wanted to struggle away, but was held tightly. After seeing Xie Tingzhou turn his head and look pitiful and about to cry, he could only compromise. Someone said it well, if you want to win someone who loves you in love, you have to pretend to be pitiful. The more pitiful you are, the more distressed the person who loves you will be, and the two of them will naturally be able to reconcile. Finally, they arrived at the bedroom, which was almost 100 square meters in size. After seeing the double bed in the middle, Huang Xinyu remembered that she woke up here during the day, and she was a little nervous for a moment. Xie Tingzhou didn't say much, but just changed the hot water for Huang Xinyu. Take a shower, I have prepared a bathrobe for you. Huang Xinyu was pushed into the bathroom. She was a little confused when taking a shower. She saw her not-so-young appearance through the projection of the mirror. Even though Huang Xinyu was better maintained than ordinary women, it seemed to be different when facing her extremely young husband. She closed her eyes and let the water flow down from her head. She didn't know how all this turned out like this. She had obviously prepared the courage to go all out, and she had obviously planned to use herself to exchange for a brighter future for her daughter and son, but the person who shouldn't have appeared. He seemed to be the same as before, willing to do anything for her. He was going to school, but Xie Tingzhou was willing to drop out of school to work so that she could live well in college. Now that he came back, he had already solved the problem of his daughter, and Huang Xinyu didn't even have to worry about it. Her husband seemed to have become stronger, but this familiar and unfamiliar feeling made Huang Xinyu's heart retreat uncontrollably. After taking a shower, she looked in the mirror and touched her still tender skin. She didn't know how to get along with Xie Tingzhou, even though she saw the familiar love in her husband's eyes, but she was still afraid. She was afraid that time would be ruthless, that the 19 years would be too tiring, and that she was no longer worthy of him. Xie Tingzhou was waiting outside, waiting for Huang Xinyu to come out in her bathrobe after taking a shower, and explained, "I'm going to take a shower too." He didn't seem to intend to avoid Huang Xinyu, and took off his shirt, revealing the vague muscle lines, which made Huang Xinyu look away instantly. Huang Xinyu had not been in a relationship for 19 years. Although someone introduced her to someone, for the sake of her daughter and son, Huang Xinyu was busy working and making her children live a better life. It was not long ago that she had been living in the same bedroom with a strange man. Xie Tingzhou went to take a shower. Huang Xinyu walked over and sat on the bed. Then she looked at the bathroom and found that it was transparent glass. The light mist outlined the figure of the man inside. She had just taken a shower and was afraid that she was also seen clearly. Huang Xinyu's cheeks flushed with an inexplicable sense of shame. Her mind was a mess. She had not yet accepted her husband's sudden return, and she was about to sleep in the same bed with her husband whom she had not seen for 19 years. So Huang Xinyu lay on the bed. Fortunately, she found 2 quilts on the big bed and tucked herself in, with only a little hair exposed. When Xie Tingzhou came out, he saw a ball on the bed. After wiping it clean, he came to the bed and lay down carefully. The smell of someone beside her and the feeling of the soft bed pressing down made Huang Xinyu clench her hands and feel extremely nervous, but then she showed a sarcastic smile. They are like this, isn't it, that she, who is older, is taking advantage? Why is she so nervous? Besides, they are a married couple with a marriage certificate, and it is not illegal to sleep in the same bed. She comforted herself in her heart, but the next moment, a long arm hugged her quilt, and Xie Tingzhou's voice was as gentle as before. "Sister, go to sleep, have a good dream, we will be together forever in the future." Forever. Huang Xinyu didn't dare to move, but was moved by such forever and tears filled her eyes. She gritted her teeth and didn't say anything. I don't know how long it took, just when she thought the person behind her was going to fall asleep, she heard Xie Tingzhou's voice. "Sister, I really miss you, I love you, do you not love me anymore?" Xie Tingzhou's small voice was aggrieved. Huang Xinyu didn't move or answer. This time Xie Tingzhou really fell asleep in such a stiffness. Huang Xinyu waited until the person behind her fell asleep before she turned around carefully and looked at her husband's young face in the night. Her fingers gently touched Xie Tingzhou's face, and her voice was so low that she could hardly hear it. "I love you," she said carefully, and then closed her eyes. "Even if you disappeared for 19 years, I still love you very much." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 33. Husband and wife who have been sleeping together for many years should obviously have different dreams, but they care about each other after all. When the morning sun shines on the bed, on this big bed in the bedroom, Huang Xinyu doesn't know when she has arrived in Xie Tinghu's arms. With it was the same as before, with his head buried in Xie Tinghu's chest, as if nothing had changed. Xie Tingzhou woke up, lowered his head and looked at the woman who had taken on everything, his eyes full of tenderness. Huang Xinyu turned over and left Xie Tingzhu's arms, allowing him to get up and freshen up. Huang Xinyu, who was supposed to continue sleeping on the bed, opened her eyes at some point. She could feel everything just now, but it was too embarrassing, so I chose to avoid it in this way. After Xie Tingzhou finished washing, Huang Xinyu got up. The maid brought the latest skirt, a goose yellow long skirt, which made Huang Xinyu even more gentle. When the two of them packed up and went downstairs, Xie Jiayu was already waiting below with Lan Huan and Huo Feng. "Dad. Mom. You are finally down. Today I am going out to play with brother Lan Huan. Does Mom want to come with me?" Xie Jiayu was fascinated by the feeling of galloping like the wind. In addition to sports cars, there were also some other exciting projects that Xie Jiayu liked very much. Yesterday, she made an appointment with someone from the supercar club to go to a shooting club. She said the guns there were all retired from the army. Xie Jiayu had never touched such things in her life, so naturally she wanted to go. "Your mother is going out with me today. If you have something to do, you can just play with brother Lan Huan. And Xiao Huo, please look at the bright moon more." Xie Tingzhou had already held Huang Xinyu's hand, leaving no chance for her daughter. In front of her daughter, Huang Xinyu could not act like she was too strange to her husband, so she could only let him hold her. Yesterday they had made an appointment with Shen Yiyan, the chairman of Shen Jewelry Group. In this incident, in addition to Xie Jiayu being harmed, Shen Yiyan was also a victim to a certain extent. After all, she was the one who was betrayed. "Okay then, Mom, just go out with Dad. We'll see you in the evening." Perhaps it was because he had been imprisoned for too long, but Xie Jiayu, who was suddenly released, was like a bird flying into the forest, completely letting go of himself. He drove so crazy and scary yesterday, and today he has to follow him to a shooting club, as if he is about to start another life. The feeling made Xie Tingzhou very satisfied. After everyone had dinner together, Xie Jiayu dragged Lan Huan and Huo Feng away. Xie Tingzhou also took Huang Xinyu into the car, and made an appointment with Shen Yiyan at a relatively quiet and closed business club in Shangjing City. An hour later, Xie Tingzhou took Huang Xinyu out of the car. After telling Shen Yiyan's name, he learned that Shen Yiyan had come here early to wait, so they went in together. In the huge conference room, Shen Yiyan had been waiting here for a long time. When she heard the movement at the door, she immediately stood up and went to greet him. "Hello, Mr. Xie, I am Shen Yiyan, the chairman of Shen Jewelry Group. Thank you for the information you sent me earlier. This is Ms. Huang. Come on, sit down first and let's chat." Shen Yiyan was extremely enthusiastic, and 2 days was enough for her to investigate Xie Jiayu's affairs clearly, including Huang Xinyu and Mr. Xie for everything. Someone in the supercar club spent nearly 400 million to buy a car. After this incident was exposed, the first thing Shen Yiyan thought of was Xie Tingzhou. Later, when people investigated, they found out that the owner of the car was Xie Jiayu. Thinking of this, Mr. Xie has strong financial strength, and Shen Yiyan does not want to offend such a person. Xie Tingzhou and Huang Xinyu both sat down. Huang Xinyu had no expression on her face. She came here today because she wanted to hear what happened to Su Liangzi, who was Su Yunhan's backer. "Mr. I was also very surprised. I had already signed a divorce agreement with him. According to the money he made from the Shen Jewelry Group, it was enough to be sentenced to life imprisonment." Shenyun didn't say much nonsense and directly named Su Liangzi's fate, saying that she had decided to make Su Liangzi pay the legal price and let him go to prison to serve his life sentence. After hearing this result, Huang Xinyu was a little happy. After all, Su Yunhan was able to do such a thing, which had a lot to do with Su Liangzi being the backstage person. She tried every means to remind Shenyun that she had no chance, but now it looks like Huang Xinyu didn't blame Shenyun when she saw this resolute woman sending the person next to her to prison. Yes, Yeting Zhou nodded. He had already read the information about Su Liangzi's actions. Life imprisonment was normal. In addition, I have asked people to start investigating the Han or group. This company has certain business connections with our company and may be suspected of making false accounts. However, Su Yunhan has not been found yet. I don't know what you plan to do with it, Mr. Xie. Su Yunhan. Shenyun really didn't expect that Su Liangzi, a cheater, not only made money in the company, but also gave all the companies or lines to children outside. If Mr. Xie hadn't discovered it first, Shenyun didn't know whether she would have been able to do it in time. Discovered this. Of course, let him pay the legal price. He is in my villa now. In 3 days, I will arrange for someone to call the police. If you have information about this company, just submit it directly to the police. Xieting Zhou said that in this legal society, life imprisonment is the best punishment for this person. The pain visible to the naked eye is temporary, but the endless second half of life with no future is the most painful. Okay, Mr. Xie, don't worry, the evidence I have is enough to give him the same life sentence as his stupid father. People who do business actually have problems in their hands to some extent, whether they are big or small. Su Liangzi's greed and stupidity, as well as Su Yunhan's madness and violation of the law, will eventually pay the price for their actions. Huang Xinyu felt relieved when she heard that those who bullied her daughter would also be sent to prison. Then she saw Shenyun in front of her pushing the information on the table. These are some detailed evidence of Su Yunhan's company. I'll leave them to Mr. Xie. Shenyun could sense that it will really cause a short-term sensation. Xieting Zhou nodded, and then checked the information. Many of the things on it were financial crimes and illegal smuggling, so according to the situation, Su Yunhan was probably going to jail. While Mr. Xie was looking at the information, Shenyun took the initiative to talk to Huang Xinyu. She knew that Ms. Huang was Mr. Xie's wife. Although the two had not seen each other for many years, judging from Mr. Xie's vigorous and resolute behavior, he cared about his former wife. When they and their children first entered the door, Mr. Xie held Huang Xinyu's hand, but it seemed that Huang Xinyu was even more reluctant. Ms. Huang, actually we have another fate. My son Shen Yunlin has been rebellious since he was a child. He likes to do music, dancing and the like. As a mother, I am also busy and don't want to put more restrictions on him, so I agreed. I thought of him and asked him to try his luck in the entertainment industry. I didn't expect that he was in a boy band with Ms. Wang's son Xie Xing. Xing's dimples must have been inherited from you. He's cute and beautiful. It hurts. Probably the most easy topic for women to communicate quickly is their children. Huang Xinyu immediately thought of the cool boy in her son's MC boy group, named Shen Yunlin, but she didn't expect that this child turned out to be Shen Yun's son. I didn't expect Mr. Shen to be Shen Yunlin's mother. It was thanks to your son's care that my son was in the group before. It is indeed fate. Huang Xinyu followed her son's talent show debut all the way, so in various VCR and live broadcast programs from before the group was formed to after the group was formed, she could naturally see that her son was well taken care of by other children. Although Shen Yunlin is cool, yes, but he takes good care of his son, just like a big brother. That's why I said it was fate. I just happened to come over today and brought a lot of stage tickets for the MC Boy Group's limited disbandment day. I thought I would give them to you just so that we can go see my son's stage together. To be honest with you, I was too busy with work before, and I didn't go to any of my son's concerts seriously for 2 years after his debut. I would be happy to be able to go with Ms. Huang this time. I have to say that Shenyan knows how to behave. She knows that Mr. Xie has the final say, but Mr. Xie cares about Ms. Huang so much. When she speaks, Mr. Xie's eyes always drift over to Ms. Huang. So it's always right to please Ms. Huang. Then I'm sorry to trouble you. Actually, I have never been to my son's concert. If I can go with Mr. Shen this time, my Xing will definitely be happy. Mentioning her son, Huang Xinyu had a smile on her face. Shenyan was relieved and then said, "Not only that, my son has been calling me before, asking me to meet the kids in the MC boy group. He also said that the MC boy group was originally a boy group limited to 2 years, and he didn't want to be separated from everyone, so I thought an entertainment company will be set up to specifically manage their MC boy group. Now Yunlin has discussed it with Zeng. They will not separate the MC boy group in the future. I have directly invested 200 million in this new company. Ms. Huang can rest assured and promise to they took good care of Zeng." Shenyan deliberately mentioned the investment of RMB 200 million in the entertainment company. In fact, she wanted to make a good deal for Xie Tingzhou. In addition, she said that her son and Xie Xing had a good relationship. Wouldn't this make our relationship closer? Huang Xinyu also knew about this matter. Her son mentioned it once when she called her before. Now when she heard Shenyan say it in person, she felt very good and smiled more on her face. That's good. I think MC's children are the most considerate. We can take care of each other even if we don't separate. Seeing that the two women were getting happier and happier as they chatted, Xie Tingzhou was quietly observing from the side, his eyes no longer on the information. Thinking of his son who looked like a little white rabbit, he became a little curious about this son. By the way, Ms. Huang, I heard that your daughter is studying oil painting. There will be an auction tomorrow in our Shangjing city. There is a particularly powerful painting up for auction, which is Klimt's work Adele. Portrait of Blockbauer. I don't know if you're interested, why don't we go to the auction together tomorrow? Shenyan knows how to please people. She is a very good businessman. Before she came, she not only did not know about Xie Tingzhou who had been missing for many years, but also investigated Huang Xinyu, Xie Jiayu, and Xie Zeng. Naturally, she tried to please them. My daughter really likes oil painting, but Huang Xinyu doesn't know much about oil painting. She looked at Xie Tingzhou on the side. Xie Tingzhou then reached out and took the invitation. Thank you for the invitation, Mr. Shen. I will bring my wife and daughter there tomorrow. World-class oil painting, my daughter will definitely like it, right? Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 34. After bidding farewell to Shenyan, Huang Xinyu exchanged contact information with Shenyan and returned to the car. Huang Xinyu had gradually begun to accept that her husband had been missing for 19 years because he was unconscious and was rescued. Now he is back, and it seems to be worth a lot of money. Thinking of her daughter's expensive luxury clothes and bags, when Huang Xinyu looked in the villa's cloakroom, she realized that Xie Tingzhou had directly purchased an entire cloakroom of clothing, bags, and matching accessories. The several hundred square meters of cloakroom were worth at least a few dollars. 10 million. Obviously her daughter's life is getting better and her husband is back. Huang Xinyu feels that she should be happy, but her heart is like hanging in the air, floating and unable to fall to the ground. Xie Tingzhou turned his head and saw his wife's depressed look. He reached out and took Huang Xinyu's hand. Sister, don't worry, I will arrange for Su Yunhan to be sent to the police station in the next 2 days, so that he will spend his whole life in jail and never come out. Thinking that Huang Xinyu was still entangled in Su Yunhan's matter, Xie Tingzhou immediately assured her, while Huang Xinyu turned to look at such a young husband and said involuntarily, It seems like I can really be your sister now. Even though they had only been together for a day and a night, Huang Xinyu could not help but feel that Xie Tingzhou was still the same Xie Tingzhou when he was young, as if he had stayed in the past 19 years, and she was the only one who had always been with him. He was walking forward, and then seemed to be walking further and further away from him. Sister. Xie Tingzhou's voice dropped when he heard this. He couldn't tell the woman in front of him not to care about time or appearance, because for women, beauty seems to be their eternal mission. What's more, it is so painful to see your lover grow old while you are still young. At this time, even thousands of words of comfort are useless. Huang Xinyu naturally felt Xie Tingzhou's sadness, and couldn't help but reach out her hand to protect herself, rubbing Xie Tingzhou's hair as before, and then said with a bit of a wry smile. I'm not blaming you, I just feel that I haven't accepted your current appearance for a while. You are like a treasure left in time. I have been looking for it for many years. When I found it, I still looked brand new, but now I feel a little cowardly, afraid that I can't protect the treasure that should be mine. She was worried about the distance between the two of them, but she also clearly felt Xie Tingzhou's dependence and love for her. Even after so many years, it was just a sleep to him, and they were still a loving couple. Or the most intimate existence in the world. I've always been a sister. Xie Tingzhou whispered. He knew that no amount of guarantees would be of any use. They would still have a forever life after that, and there would still be many days to spend together every day. Every day when he wakes up, Xie Tingzhou will tell Huang Xinyu that he will still love her. The two returned to the Hongyu Lake Villa. Now Huang Xinyu already knew that the Hongyu Lake Villa here was in the name of her daughter. There were 5 floors of the villa, and there were more than a dozen servants alone. Everything was so orderly that Huang Xinyu had never thought that she would have such an enjoyable life before. After coming back, the cosmetics company called, originally expressing concern for Huang Xinyu. After all, everyone knew about Huang Xinyu's surgery before. The boss also said that he could lend Huang Xinyu money, but everything was a little late. Huang Xinyu took leave and will attend the auction with Xie Tingzhou tomorrow. This was an occasion she had never thought she could attend before, and now, she was going with her husband. In the afternoon, Xie Tingzhou directly asked people from the luxury store to come over. The models were wearing high heels in Hongyu Lake Villa, showing off suitable dresses one by one. If you go to a more formal occasion, you naturally have to pay attention to what you wear. Huang Xinyu also picked out a few pieces. She was not interested in these dresses at first, but when she changed into dresses and saw Xie Tingzhou's shining eyes sitting there, she suddenly felt that it would be okay to wear more dresses. As a person who regularly undergoes beauty treatments, Huang Xinyu does not show any signs of aging. When she is wearing a champagne silk dress, her whole body is particularly well proportioned, and her exposed shoulders are rounder and fairer, which is as impressive as her person. Feel comfortable. Her beauty is non-aggressive, with a gentle smile. It's just that only people who are familiar with her have seen Huang Xinyu's violent rage, just like how she slapped her lover in the face crazily when she found out that she had dropped out of school. People who were born in orphanages have never been soft-spoken people. This is great. My sister looks so beautiful in it. Xie Tingzhou did not hesitate to praise Huang Xinyu in front of many staff members. He called her sister. Some models around him thought that Huang Xinyu and Xie Tingzhou were siblings, but then they saw Xie Tingzhou obediently nuzzling next to Huang Xinyu. It turned out to be he secretly kissed her on the face, and now he understood the relationship between the two. The so-called sister is just a term of endearment, but their relationship is even closer. Later, with Xie Tingzhou's sweet words, Huang Xinyu chose several sets of dresses, although she didn't know whether they would be useful in the future. When Xie Jiayu returned home, the staff had not left. After all, it was not just Huang Xinyu and the others who had to serve, so Xie Jiayu, Lan Huan, and Huo Feng also received customized dresses. After finally getting it done, I heard my father say that he would go to an auction tomorrow. Xie Zhou did not explain what the auction was about, but kept it a secret. Lan Huan did not know this either, as he was not yet at a high level to be exposed to such high-end places as auctions. Huo Feng seemed to have thought of something, and looked at Xie Jiayu, and then at Mr. Xie, and felt that Mr. Xie really doted on his daughter. For the auction, everyone was ready early. The auction was at 1 p.m. and lasted until about 8 p.m. Xie Jiayu could not go out to play today. In the morning, she watched a show with Huang Xinyu. Of course, it was Xie Xing's show. Xie Tingzhou was also watching it. He thought that his son was handsome and cute. After a short lunch, Xie Tingzhou led a group of people to set off. The destination was the Eternal Auction House. This auction was very impressive. All the items were very precious, so the visitors were all wealthy. It was rare for Xie Tingzhou to get an invitation from the Shen Jewelry Group. When he entered the door, he handed the invitation to the doorman and was taken by the waiter to the private room on the second floor of the auction. The view here was the best. Of course, this quota was also obtained by Shen Yiyin. Huang Xinyu held Xie Tingzhou's hand and walked a little stiffly. Xie Tingzhou deliberately lowered his head and moved closer. "Are you very nervous, sister?" When he asked this, Huang Xinyu glared at him, and then pinched Xie Tingzhou hard in a place where no one could see. Xie Tingzhou immediately laughed, and then said, "Don't be nervous, sister. This is my first time to come to an auction. We are just here to have fun." He said this, but in fact he was looking forward to this auction. Xie Jiayu, who was behind, was wearing a long skirt. In order to prevent being affected when walking, she also held Lan Huan's arm. Now she really regarded Lan Huan as her brother. After all, Lan Huan was fun, could talk, and took good care of Xie Jiayu. Who wouldn't want to have such a brother? Seeing that her parents had such a close relationship at this time, Xie Jiayu was the happiest. After her father came back, Xie Jiayu said that she was not worried, which was absolutely false. After all, her father was still so young. Although her mother had taken good care of herself over the years, she was still different from her father. She was really afraid that after her father saw her mother, the two would drift apart in the end. However, through the 2 days of getting along with her parents, she saw that her father seemed to be trying to please her mother, but her mother didn't seem to want to talk to her father, which made Xie Jiayu feel good. Mom had feelings for her father. Now that her father was back, their family would be able to be together happily in the future. The group entered the private room, but Xie Tingzhou always felt that today was too smooth. Regarding his daughter's weekly task, Xie Tingzhou felt that the painting was the most important itinerary for today. After the guests in the private room gradually took their seats and the entire lobby was filled with people, the new auction of the Name of the World officially began. On the auction stage, there was an auctioneer wearing a cheongsam, who was slowly opening the curtain for the auction. Welcome all guests to participate in this auction of the Name of the World, which will auction those rare treasures with the name of the world, and hope that all guests can take pictures of your favorites. Then we will present the first exhibit, Pink Star, which is the largest pink diamond mined in South Africa, with a net weight of 59.6 grams, and is the largest pink diamond in the world today. Along with the introduction of the auctioneer, the appearance of this pink star appeared on the screen behind. It was made into a diamond ring. The gorgeous color is heartwarming, and the pink is translucent and dreamy. It is absolutely true to say that it has the name of the world. No woman can refuse jewelry and diamonds. There is a special projection screen in the private room, where you can watch this huge pink diamond up close. The pink and tender color makes people feel soft at a glance. Xie Jiayu and Huang Xinyu both had bright eyes, but Lan Huan couldn't help but look at his godfather, and then secretly talk to his brother. "Godfather, don't you want to take a picture of this later?" In Lan Huan's eyes, his godfather has the ability to buy it in full. After the pink diamond was exhibited, Xieting Zhou instantly heard the sound of the unlimited black card task. Ding, start the emergency task. How can you, a rich man, see what your wife and daughter like and remain indifferent? You must take them all. Today you are the most handsome card-swiping man in their hearts. Please bid on all the exhibits praised by Xie Jiayu and Huang Xinyu in this auction, with no limit on the amount. It will be invalid after leaving this auction. There is no countdown for this task. There was a feeling that it had finally come, as if Infinite Black Card was just a person who liked to join in the fun. Xieting Zhou suddenly felt helpless and looked at the two women with shining eyes and asked, "Is this pink star beautiful? Do you like it?" "Good man, he has a golden finger." Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 35. Yeah, this color is so beautiful. It's pink and sparkling. Even Xie Jiayu couldn't get rid of Pink's desire to control her. Huang Xinyu's eyebrows were curved and the corners of her mouth were slightly raised, revealing her beautiful dimples. Women can't resist such things as jewelry and gemstones. At this moment, Huang Xinyu and Xie Jiayu didn't know what would happen next. After they both agreed that the pink diamond was beautiful, the jewelry display session was over. Then the pink star we used as the opening. This time I believe everyone has seen its dazzling side. Of course, its collection value in jewelry is also extremely high. The starting price is 100 million. Every increase in price must not be lower at 5 million. With the voice of the auctioneer, the bidding for this pink star officially started. I have to say that this auction is worth promoting with legendary name, because the starting price of this first lot is 100 million. I don't know how crazy it will be after that. When the auctioneer's 100 million appeared, there was an auction immediately. Guest number 23 is worth 150 million. Guest number 31 is worth 200 million. Guest number 13 is worth 230 million. Every time tens of millions are added up, even everyone in the private room is frightened. Where has Lan Huan ever seen such a big scene? The starting price for a random piece of jewelry is only 100 million. How many times will the final transaction price be? Xie Jiayu and Huang Xinyu also widened their eyes. They really felt that the pink star was beautiful. Of course, its price was also a bit too beautiful. In less than half a minute, the starting price of 100 million soared to 350 million. From this time on, the number increased by 10 million each time, but there were still many people participating in the auction. Everyone wanted to spend the least amount of money to buy the world's largest pink diamond, which can be said to be the only one in the world. Such a big pink diamond. Its uniqueness and rarity are enough to drive these rich people crazy. The private room was extremely calm, but I didn't know how lively the atmosphere outside was, so when the price finally reached 510 million. Finally no one shouts the price anymore. Then our 19 customers have given a price of 510 million. Are there any customers who want to continue shooting? If not, then 510 million once. 510 million twice. Just when the auctioneer below was about to place the last price, a new voice suddenly sounded. Customer number 3 is 600 million. Are there any other guests who need to continue? When he heard the price of 600 million, the auctioneer's eyes lit up with excitement. After all, if the first product to be auctioned had a good start, then the subsequent auctions would be smoother, so when he saw that the pink star could be sold with a price of 600 million, can the auctioneer be unhappy? Sure enough, after hearing the price of 600 million, guest number 19 stopped adding more. Lan Huan felt that this guest number 3 was a little strange. After thinking hard, he patted his forehead and said, "Godfather? The guest number 3 they are talking about is you, right? The private room they just came to was private room number 3, but they didn't see what their godfather was doing? Why did you come up with a price?" Sure enough, Following Lan Huan's voice, the auction house staff came over. Although the photo had just been taken, a handover procedure still needed to be done. At least it was necessary to make sure that the person who took the photo of the exhibit could have money to pay the bill. Xieting Zhou was very rude and handed the black card directly to the staff. They usually transfer the money in the card to their eternal auction house account, and then deduct the fee after the customer obtains the exhibits. This will also be very expensive. Of convenience. The housekeepers Huang Yu and Xia Jiakai were guarding outside, so they naturally followed him. Protecting the master's assets was what they had to do as housekeepers. After the others left, Huang Xinyu and Xia Jiayu also looked at Xieting Zhou, extremely shocked. Why are you taking this photo? 600 million. Not $6. Yes, Dad, why did you buy this if you have nothing to do? Xia Jiayu couldn't even calculate how many things she could buy with 600 million. It turned out that her own father spent 600 million on a diamond. Don't you like it? If you like it, I'll buy it for you. But how you, my father bought this pink diamond for your mother. You can see what else you like later, and my father will buy it for you. Xieting Zhou still had time to coax his daughter, which made Xia Jiayu dumbfounded. Huang Xinyu originally wanted to blame Xieting Zhou for spending money arbitrarily, but when she thought of the villa at home and the valuable sports car, she felt that she couldn't control it anymore. As long as you are happy. Although as a person who was given a gift, he should be happy, but Huang Xinyu felt strangely that Alexander seemed to be a little unaccustomed to the fact that a poor man suddenly became rich. After a while, the pink diamond and black card were sent back. After Huang Xinyu saw the real pink star, she felt that the 600 million seemed to be well spent. Xieting Zhou held the valuable pink diamond and put it directly on Huang Xinyu's ring finger, then kissed the back of her hand and said, I used to think that if I were rich, I would definitely buy you the best and biggest diamond ring. Although my current money is inherited from others, it is enough for our family to eat and drink for a lifetime. I don't want my sister to let you. I won't be wronged again. From now on, whenever my sister wants something, I will buy it for her. Not every word Xieting Zhou said was about love, but every word contained his love. Huang Xinyu's eyes suddenly became sore. Unexpectedly, Xieting Zhou still remembered the promise from back then. At this time, she seemed to feel that everything was nothing, all the suffering seemed to be over, and everything would have a new future. Xia Jiayu was also happy to see her parents getting along well. Then she pushed her father aside. Then she also looked at the pink star on her mother's hand. She just thought that this pink diamond on her mother was so beautiful. So beautiful. The auction below is still going on in an orderly manner, but this time, as long as Xie Jiayu and Huang Xinyu take a few more glances, Xieting Zhou will ask if they like it. The two of them didn't react at first, but found that after they said they liked it several times, Xieting Zhou took pictures of these things. Specifically, there is a watch set with more than 110 carats of colored diamonds launched by the world's top jeweler Graf. The starting price is also 100 million, and the price is 400 million. Violin, the king of violin kings, has been produced for more than 300 years. Whether in terms of collection value or use value, it is the top king among music lovers. The final price is 200 million. There are only 7 of Patek Philippe's global commemorative watches in the world, and their collection value is extremely high. The final price was 250 million. Oppenheimer's blue diamond ring, with a net weight of 14.62 carats, the starting price was 100 million, and the final transaction price was 420 million. His man's special model of crystal piano was made of the most special kind of crystal material. The final price at the auction was 100 million, which seemed to be less than before. Lan Huan has gone from shock at the beginning to numbness later on. He has become accustomed to his godfather's method of using auctions as a vegetable market. After all, his godfather buys a car just like buying food. Many of the customers below also noticed something was wrong. The auction started at 1 o'clock, and by 5 o'clock, this mysterious customer number 3 could be said to have taken a lot of exhibits, from jewelry to all kinds of strange things. Anyway, based on rough calculations, it would cost at least tens of billions. Places like auction houses require cash for settlement. Who can have so much money? Huang Xinyu and Xie Jiayu were also tired. From the nervousness and uneasiness when they first came to this auction, to the shock of buying the first Pink King, to later seeing Xie Tingzhou buying these expensive collectibles and buying Chinese cabbage. Both of them were numb. Especially when the two of them discovered that it was something they wanted to take a look at first. Xie Tingzhou would ask them if they liked it, and then take pictures of it. Later, they almost didn't even ask them, as long as they felt that the two women in the family needed it. Yes, if it has anything to do with a woman, just slap it. The two of them had no idea how much Xie Tingzhou had bought, and Huang Xinyu even wondered if her husband had a disease that would kill him without spending any money. However, seeing that the staff at the auction were becoming more and more attentive to Xie Tingzhou, the two of them felt more at ease knowing that Xie Tingzhou was rich. And Xie Tingzhou stayed until 7 o'clock in the evening, and the last exhibit of the entire legendary name auction officially appeared. The last exhibit in our legendary name auction today is also the most popular exhibit among domestic artists. It is the work Adele Bouquet by the Austrian artist Gustav Klimt. Lochbauer Portrait No. 1, this oil painting has gone through many legendary stories. After being collected by foreign private collectors, it re-entered the country, so it appears here. I believe everyone is most looking forward to its appearance. Along with the auctioneer's introduction, this world-class oil painting portrait of Adele Blochbauer No. 1 appeared on the booth. In the private room, the beauty of this oil painting can also be seen on the projection. Huan. The woman wrapped in gold directly attracts everyone's attention. The magnificent impact makes you unable to take your eyes away. Even Huang Xinyu, a person who does not understand oil painting, will be attracted, let alone Xie Jiayu. Many people were immersed in the beauty of this world-class oil painting, and the auctioneer also gave a starting price. Our portrait of Adele Blochbauer No. 1 is the world's top oil painting and the most collectible art. The starting price is 500 million. Each bid increase must not be less than 10 million. That's right. That's how crazy it is. In fact, many people came to this auction just to take a photo of this oil painting, and no one wanted to buy anything else at first. The preciousness and rarity of this painting alone rivals many things that money can achieve. When hearing the starting price of 500 million, it was enough to shock everyone. After all, the starting price is 500 million, so what will the subsequent price be? However, everyone also knows that the last time this painting was auctioned, the final transaction price was 900 million. However, times have changed and so many years have passed. If it is auctioned again, the price will naturally be different from the past. Huang Xinyu immediately looked at Xie Tingzhou and understood that Xie Tingzhou was bound to win this oil painting. However, Xie Jiayu reacted belatedly and wanted to tell her father not to take the photo because it was too expensive, but she liked it so much that she was full of tangles. Jiayu, you like this oil painting, right? Xie Tingzhou asked. Xie Jiayu bit her lip and didn't know how to answer, but Xie Tingzhou had already answered for her. I came to this auction today to buy this oil painting for you. You like painting? After you buy this painting, you can hang it at home and look at it whenever you want. It's up to you. It's as if having a father can satisfy all the wishes in the world. Xie Jiayu's eyes suddenly turned red, and finally nodded. The auction below was already in full swing. Please, this is a world-class oil painting. Who wants to miss this opportunity? Guest number 34 bid 630 million. Guest number 25 bid 640 million. Guest number 12 bid 650 million. The price is gradually increasing. Everyone wants this painting, and they are more cautious, afraid that they will fall into someone else's trap, so whether it is from the price or the degree of caution, it is naturally different. In a few minutes, the price went up directly. Guest number 12 bids 1.11 billion. Guest number 6 bids 1.15 billion. Guest number 7 bids 1.2 billion. When the competition became increasingly fierce, many people withdrew from the competition. After all, the price of this painting has exceeded 1.2 billion. And it is still going forward. Who knows what kind of incredible price will be auctioned today? It was not until the price reached 1.5 billion that there were only 2 people left to compete. Guest number 6 bids 1.51 billion. Is there anyone else who wants to increase it? At this moment, everyone became a spectator. After all, this price is really expensive, and Xie Zhou just made a move at this time. The voice of the auctioneer was heard soon. Guest number 3 bids 1.6 billion. There was a sudden silence on the field, and even the people in the private room number 6 were stunned for a moment, but they understood that the person in the private room number 3 was a rich man who had bought a lot of things tonight and spent tens of billions. If they continued to fight him, the final price might be very high and they would offend people. Shen Yiyan, who was also at the auction today, naturally didn't want the 2 people she knew to fight, so she directly asked someone to notify the people in box 6, saying that the people in box 3 had something to do with gold. So the people in box 6 really stopped raising the price. The auctioneer didn't expect that the last painting would be sold at such a price. The excited voices were much brighter. Then 1.6 billion once. 1.6 billion twice. 1.6 billion sold. With the sound of knocking, this world-class oil painting was bought by Xie Zhou. When others were thinking about giving it away or collecting it, no one would have thought that the reason Xie Zhou bought it was just to give it to his daughter to watch. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 36. For such a long auction, fortunately it was in a private room, and there were food and snacks arranged in the middle. Otherwise, those sitting outside would have been hungry and their chests were pressed to their backs. But those people didn't care about this. It was like a banquet. Similarly, at a banquet there are all exquisite and gorgeous snacks, but how many people eat them? The auction was officially over. Xie Zhou had better wait for the auction house to conduct subsequent settlement. At this time, Shen Yan came uninvited. After all, Shen Yan specially sent the location of room 3. After letting the staff inform, Shen Yan then he walked in. Mr. Xie, MRS Xie, I didn't come to say hello to you at noon. I thought there were more trivial matters at the auction. The auction is over now, so I boldly came over to say hello to you. This is you. My daughter, right? She is indeed shaped like Mr. I'll put it on for you. Shen Yan is a socially awesome person. She did not let the atmosphere cool down as soon as she entered the door. When she greeted Xie Zhou and Huang Xinyu, she changed the name of Huang Xinyu to MRS the billionaire Pink King. Facing Xie Jiayu, Shen Yan was even more enthusiastic. She walked over and took Xie Jiayu's hand. As she spoke, she put the violet jade bracelet on Xie Jiayu's wrist. Of course, she didn't bring a gift. The color of this violet was fresh and translucent. It is most suitable for young girls to wear. It was specially selected by Shen Yan for Xie Jiayu. Mr. Shen, did you encounter any favorite exhibits here today? Xie Zhou asked casually, and felt that it was normal for Shen Yan to please her, because for businessmen, cash flow is the eternal god. Don't look at some large companies that say they have assets of hundreds of millions or tens of billions. In fact, they have working capital. Even 10% of the assets they talk about is considered too much. Even the Shen Jewelry Group is the same. A large amount of money is pressed on various raw materials and goods, so if you ask her to directly obtain a large amount of working capital, it is almost impossible. I just came here today to join in the fun, thinking that after the auction I would like to invite Mr. Xie and MRS Xie to have a meal. This is not the last time I saw MRS. I know that MRS Xie is very good in the past and has a lot of experience in skincare. I am also a woman, so I naturally want to ask for advice. When Shenyan spoke, she looked towards Huang Xinyu with admiration and kindness. When she spoke, she looked into people's eyes and was very sincere, making people not disgusted. Xie Tingzhou looked at his wife and obeyed her in everything. Okay then, let's have a potluck together later. Although Huang Xinyu is not a person who doesn't know how to refuse, Shenyan does feel very sincere to people. She also seems to feel guilty for what the Su family has done, so she wants to try her best to make up for it. Although Xie Jiayu was the one who was hurt the most in all this filth, Shenyan understood even more that the more she knew about this, the best way to express herself was not to mention it again. While Shenyan was talking to Huang Xinyu, the staff had already packed up the final list, and then the items obtained from the auction would be delivered to Xie Tingzhu's home through their auction house in a special car. Naturally, the housekeeper will arrange these, so Xie Tingzhou doesn't have to worry about it. Mr. Xie, I wonder if you can accept an anonymous interview with our Shangjing Times. Regarding this auction of legendary name, you spent a lot of money at this auction. Many people want to know what these auctions are. What attracts you? Can we conduct a short 10-minute anonymous interview? You can rest assured that we will ensure your privacy and only disclose the information about the auction items. Yes, in fact, when some of the more important things are auctioned, anonymous interviews are conducted. After all, the rich are very low-key. Even if they auction a very high price, they only leave a Mr. and the purpose of auction only. This information will also greatly increase the value of the auction items. Yeah, okay, Xie Tingzhou nodded. Originally, the staff member was trying it out. After all, a rich man who can spend so much money on so many auction items must be very cold-blooded, but he didn't expect that he actually agreed. Xie Tingzhou agreed like this, which surprised Shen Yiyan. Huang Xinyu and Xie Jiayu also found it a bit strange. Only Lan Huangzin, who was following along, said that the Godfather was starting to show off again. He finally discovered that the Godfather's consumption power generally changes through occasions and locations. As long as there are certain specific occasions, the Godfather's consumption power will increase exponentially. I remembered that my family's total assets were only over 100 million, and I was considered a well-known second-generation rich man in my hometown. How can it be like today? I drive tens of millions of luxury cars all day long, and go to Beijing to play. Play with the top rich second generation in the city. Xie Tingzhou gave Xie Jiayu a card, and Lan Huan also had a card. In fact, it contained unlimited black card cashback money, not much, only tens of millions. But Xie Jiayu and Lan Huan were introduced to the circle by Huo Feng, and with such a luxurious super sports car, no one doubted that they only had 10 million in their pockets, so every time they were taken out to play, someone would treat them to a meal, just to play with their super sports cars. You know, the most expensive sports car is worth more than 100 million. If you treat them to a meal and play, and then touch their cars, they will not refuse, right? Xie Tingzhou followed the staff to conduct an anonymous interview. The interview was also very simple. It was nothing more than asking Xie Tingzhou what aspects of the auction items attracted him, why he took pictures, and so on. As a result, Xie Tingzhu's answer was extremely down-to-earth. After the interview, Xie Tingzhou returned to the private room and went to eat with Shen Yiyan. It was said to be a casual meal, but Shen also found a famous private chef in Shangjing City, and specially added money to jump the queue. The moment Xie Tingzhou left the auction, the task of unlimited black cards was automatically completed, but the previous task of 5 billion was left. And when Xie Tingzhou took his family to eat, the internet was already in an uproar. Hashtag world-class oil painting auctioned for 1.6 billion hashtag. Hashtag the name of the world auction hashtag. Hashtag rich people spend billions on crazy auctions hashtag. 3 consecutive hot searches were about this auction. Before the name of the world auction was promoted, it was aimed at wealthy people, but when the auction was over, it was the most expensive world-class painting worth 1.6 billion that became the hot search. Many fans clicked in and saw, my god. So this is the world of the rich? Billions of dollars can be spent at will? Then, when everyone was shocked, a new hot search came. Hashtag mysterious rich man interview transcript hashtag. As soon as they saw this, netizens on the internet were no longer sleepy. They quickly clicked in and found that it was a text version. This interview transcript came from a real-time interview with the Beijing Times, and its authenticity was naturally self-evident. So netizens saw the ordinary happiness and the most ordinary Versailles of the rich for the first time. The reporter asked, "What attracted you to the pink star?" "Oh, you mean the world's largest pink diamond?" The mysterious rich man said, "My wife likes it, so I took the photo." "Well, he is really a husband who dotes on his wife." The reporter asked again, "The king of violins, Vio, is a top-level violin that all artists want to own. Did you take the photo because you like music?" "Oh, is it the violin with a history of more than 300 years? Is this a humming antique? Does anyone play this violin?" The mysterious rich man said, "My son can play the violin. When he comes home, let him play it for me, and my wife and I can have a candlelight dinner together." Oh my goodness! So the son is not his own, but a gift for recharging his phone bill? He got a 300-year-old violin just to be the atmosphere group for you? Some of the questions and answers afterwards became outrageous and suddenly felt normal. Finally, there was the world-class oil painting worth 1.6 billion. The reporter asked, "Did you take the photo of Portrait of Adele Bloch-Bauer No. 1 because you appreciate the artistic creation of this painting?" The reporter's way of asking questions needs to be improved. The mysterious rich man answered, "No, because my daughter is studying oil painting, she likes it, so I took a photo and gave it to her." Is this the simple and unpretentious way for rich people to raise their daughters? After reading all the text interviews, netizens are deeply envious and jealous. For this rich man named Xie, I just want to open my Erkang hand and say, "Dad, do you still need sons and daughters? It's okay to be an atmosphere group." At this moment, the little guys of the MC boy group who had just finished dancing had just finished their meal and were resting on the sofa, and then Li Nangzi couldn't help sighing. "There are so many rich people in the world, why can't there be one more for me? Woo woo woo, I also want to have such a rich father." Along with his sigh, everyone was a little curious, and Li Nangzi sent the message link he saw to the group to share with everyone. Everyone was shocked to see that such a rich father named Xie actually bought auction items worth tens of billions at an auction. Hey, it's frustrating to compare yourself with others, but Zing, his surname is also Xie, and he is from the same family as you. Gu Yunzheng was talking to Xie Zing on the side. In fact, no one in their team had a very poor family. Most of them were better off than ordinary families. Otherwise, how could you debut? How can you show off your talents? Can you sing? Can you dance? Can you play the violin? Can you play the piano? Can you play the guitar? The most necessary thing to learn these is money. So none of the people who can really debut are from poor families. A crystal piano worth 100 million Heitzman. The goddess of my dreams, if I can use it in my lifetime, I will die without regrets. Gu Yunzhong sighed again. As a musician, he naturally likes better instruments. Shen Yunlin didn't pursue these things much, and couldn't help complaining. You guys are going to be great. The natural response to this was that everyone surrounded him and tickled him, making Shen Yunlin breathless. Xie Xing was calm. Ever since Shen Yunlin told him that the Shen family was willing to open an entertainment company that specialized in serving MC boy bands and was willing to give him a signing bonus of 100 million, Xie Xing relaxed a lot. He was just waiting for his contract with the company to expire after the concert. When he signed a contract with a new company and got the money, he could rescue his sister. As for the wealthy man named Xie, no matter how rich he was, it had nothing to do with him. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 37. When eating with Shen Yiyan, Xie Tingzhou sat at the main seat. On his left was his daughter Xie Jiayu, and on his right was Huang Xinyu. Lan Huan was naturally next to Xie Jiayu, and Shen Yiyan sat next to Huang Xinyu. The dishes cooked in this private kitchen are well known among the wealthy circles in Shangjing City, so Shen Yiyan introduced them enthusiastically as soon as the dishes were served. Xinyu, please try this pine nut fish. It can be said to be a specialty dish in their store. Ordinary chefs can't make it taste like this. Along the way, Shen Yiyan and Huang Xinyu were able to call each other's names. Although Mr. Xie was still polite to Xie Tingzhou, Shen Yiyan deliberately made friends with Huang Xinyu. I came here today because there is another thing I forgot to mention last time. I must remind Mr. Xie carefully this time. Okay, you can eat too, you don't have to just worry about me. Huang Xinyu didn't think that Shen Yiyan was particularly attentive. She could still tell who was sincere to her. After all, she had been working for so many years, so she could still see through some superficial skills. Shen Yiyan was also a victim. In a sense, she regarded herself and Huang Xinyu as people suffering from the same problem, so she naturally paid more attention to Huang Xinyu and rarely paid attention to Xie Tingzhou. Women will have more topics to talk about and share some special information. Xie Jiayu saw that her mother seemed to be having a good chat with Aunt Shen, and felt a lot more relieved. However, she found it amusing to see her father being left out in the cold, so she took serving chopsticks to pick up food for her father. Dad, you eat this. With his daughter's thoughtful feeding, Xie Tingzhou was in a good mood. Okay, you eat too, and Dad will give you another surprise tomorrow. The 5 billion mission funds for the unlimited black card have not been spent yet. Tomorrow is the deadline. Xie Tingzhou must find an opportunity to spend all the money. Dad has given me a lot of surprises, and I'm already very happy. Of course Xie Jiayu was happy. She turned to talk to Lan Huan again. Lan Huan had learned a lot today. Although he seemed to have nothing, just this trip was something that some people would not be able to have in this life. Opportunity. Besides, his godfather had already given him enough. For just those 2 cars, Lan Huan felt that he would never be able to repay them in his lifetime. Although Lan Huan did not broadcast live this week, Lan Huan is very happy every day. Playing with these young men in Beijing is a different feeling from playing with those in his hometown. Lan Huan's circle of friends has been refreshed. These connections was a network of contacts that Lan Huan had never had access to before. If it weren't for Xie Jiayu's super sports cars, no one would have even looked at him. Huo Feng ate in silence. He didn't know why he was still here, but since Mr. Xie had no intention of ending the detective club business, he was naturally still here. Everyone ate quietly and didn't say anything about drinking. After all, there were women present, and everyone was just having a casual meal and not drinking. When the meal was almost done, Shen Yan whispered to Huang Xinyu. Xinyu, didn't my ex-husband have a woman outside before? She was the one named Song Wen. Now that I have sent my ex-husband in, of course I don't plan to let her go, so I guess I will also let her go after a while. Send it in. Using the gentlest words and the most vigorous actions, Huang Xinyu immediately thought of Song Wen and was stunned for a moment. How to get in? Originally, she wanted to die with such a family, but now everything is better. Su Liangzi and Su Yunhan have both suffered retribution, and Song Wen did not expect to be let go. Su Liangzi did so many tricks in my company. He bought a house and a car for a woman outside. All he spent was my money, which is marital property, so I directly asked the lawyer to recover it. I saw it here he spent more than 80 million. Now that he has entered, I will definitely ask his lover for it. If she still doesn't come out, of course I will send her in. Shenyan said very calmly. In fact, it was found that the money Su Liangzi gave to Song Wen was not that much, but who was Shenyan? When she wants to get someone, she still has to look at your face. Song Wen will definitely be sent to prison by her. Such a family lying on her body sucking blood is like leeches. Shenyan will never be relieved if these people are not allowed to live in prison. Especially after hearing from Mr. Xie's people that Su Yunhan was dying, Shenyan laughed almost every night. Can't she see Su Liangzi's extravagant thoughts? He just felt that Yunlin had been embarrassed by his entry into the entertainment industry and was not worthy of taking over the Shen family business in the future. He cultivated a son outside to plot against the Shen family, but he also did not think about it. The Shen jewelry group belonged to the Shen family. The child given was also a child of the Shen family. Is it your turn to use your own illegitimate son to steal heaven and earth for a son-in-law? Huang Xinyu naturally understood what Shenyan meant at this moment, and also understood why she and Shenyan felt like old friends at first sight. It turned out that the two of them were the same. The two of them protected their own interests and their children. Once their interests and children, if they are damaged, then the two of them will do anything for the sake of their children. Neither of them are weak women. Even though they have soft and gentle smiles on their faces, they are both stubborn and resilient women in their hearts. That's good. She knows Su Liangzi's identity and still sticks to him. She deserves to end up like this. She smiled, a bit annoyed, which made Shenyan laugh too. Yes, I had people go directly to her house to kick her out, and then threw all her things into the trash can. I heard that she was as angry as a lunatic at that time. Su Liangzi should really see it. What kind of thing is this woman out there? Su Liangzi can't protect himself, but he still wants to protect others. Shenyan's evaluation hit the nail on the head. When recruiting a son-in-law, it was all about being a good-looking man. It didn't matter whether he could do it or not. However, as time went by, this incompetent and cowardly man also became ambitious. However, if his virtue was not matched, he would surely suffer disaster. The two women talked for a while and were both in a good mood. After that, Xie Jiayu wanted to go to the bathroom and called Huang Xinyu to go out together. Lan Huan was worried that the two of them were not familiar with the outside, so he followed them, while Huo Feng stayed in the house. Only then did Shenyan have the opportunity to talk to Mr. Xie, and she spoke directly. Mr. Xie, I heard that you haven't contacted your son Xiezing since you came back, right? She is very straightforward. After all, Xie Tingzhou has done so many things in less than a week since he came back from the outside world, and they are all vigorous. In order to prepare for the subsequent disbandment concert, the MC boy group is currently practicing dance and practice in a closed manner. Singing training. So, she was very sure that Xie Tingzhou had not contacted Xiezing, and she probably didn't know much about Xiezing. Yes, no contact yet. Xie Tingzhou nodded and gave a clear answer. Shenyan was not surprised after hearing this, but said with a slight hint of gratitude on her face. Mr. Crossing the Galaxy, they said they would give Xing a signing fee of 100 million, but people from Xinggui Entertainment seem to have connections with Su Yunhan. He said everything to the point, and Shenyan naturally knew that Mr. Xie must understand what he meant. After she said this, she suddenly felt a little guilty on her face. If Su Yunhan really wanted to do something to Xing through Xinggui Entertainment, it is my fault as a mother for not paying too much attention to my son. Su Yunhan must have wanted to use Xing to do something bad to Yunlin. Xing can be regarded as an unforeseen disaster. The new MC entertainment company I prepared for my son has already opened. When the time comes, I promise that no one will be able to hurt Xing again. When many clues are connected together, you will find that many things may seem unrelated, but they are all related. The gray line of grass and snakes runs thousands of miles, and any information in this world has traces to follow. During this meal today, Shenyan wanted to have a relationship with Huang Xinyu, and she also wanted to apologize and prove her innocence, hoping not to be offended by Mr. Xie. I know all this. Xie Tingzhou was not surprised that Shenyan was cautious. There were traces in Huo Feng's investigation. The situation of his son Xie Xing after his debut in the past 2 years, as well as the recent termination of his contract with the company, are all recorded in the records of which major entertainment companies have contacted his son and how much signing bonus they have offered. The reason why Xie Tingzhou hasn't moved yet is because his silly son is still training in a closed room to prepare for the upcoming concert. After the concert, he will naturally tell his son the truth about everything. Mr. Xie, don't worry. This time Xing resigns with our company, we will also give him a signing bonus of 100 million, and we will also focus on cultivating Xing. He can develop in any direction he wants, as long as he likes it. Although Shenyan felt that maybe Xie Xing came home and became a second-generation rich man after knowing that his father was rich, she still had to say what should be said. Maybe the other party likes to be a big star just like his silly son? Yes, Xie Tingzhou nodded and gave Shenyan the opportunity to make amends. After that, the two of them said nothing. Huo Feng listened to the two people talking and felt that Mr. Xie had indeed figured out all Mr. Shen's thoughts, and that Su Yunhan's ambition was indeed crazy. From Huang Xinyu to Xie Jiayu and Xie Xing, they were all exploited. Thorough. When Huang Xinyu, Xie Jiayu, and Lan Huan came back, the dining table was still peaceful, and everyone chatted for a while before preparing to go back to their respective homes. It was already after 10 o'clock when I went out. The summer night breeze was cool and the neon lights around me were shining with moving brilliance. I watched the mobile phone endorsement advertisement of my son Xie Xing being played repeatedly on a building. Lan Huan was a little curious and leaned over to ask. "Daddy, what are you looking at?" "Didn't see anything." Lan Huan was even more confused, wondering if his godfather was looking at his brother's billboard just now. I saw Xie Tingzhou retracting his gaze at this time and saying something that even Lan Huan was stunned. "It's dark, Xinggui Entertainment should go bankrupt." Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 38. Following Xie Tingzhou's words, Infinite Black Card once again released the latest mission. Drop, the main consumption task starts. When the weather gets cold, let Xinggui Company go bankrupt. Please use your ability as a top tycoon to win a company at lightning speed. Startup capital of 3 billion, ask the host to complete the bankruptcy task within a month. Countdown. That's right, now Xie Tingzhou can skillfully use the rules of infinite black cards. Although this black card is not a human, it has the heart of Long Aotian. His lifelong wish is probably to slap others in the face, or else it will be someone else's face. Bring it up and beat it. After accepting the task, Xie Tingzhou turned around and saw Lan Huan standing there motionless, like a bronze statue. Patting him on the shoulder, Xie Tingzhou didn't quite understand Lan Huan's reaction. The next moment, Lan Huan suddenly woke up and gave Xie Tingzhou a thumbs up. "Godfather! I'm too small. I just thought that if you were rich, my brother could come back and become a rich second generation. I didn't expect that you would want to help your brother carve a career in the entertainment industry." In order to protect your brother's dream, you really so hard. Lan Huan sincerely admires him. How can there be such a good father in this world? Anyway, he was deeply envious. Although the loading period for this dad was too long, it was fine. As long as he could go online, everything would be easy. Xie Zhou was speechless, and really didn't want to pay attention to Lan Huan's sometimes weird ideas. The group of people returned to Hongyu Lake in this dark night. The items auctioned at the auction had been received by the housekeepers and were temporarily placed in the hall, waiting for Xie Zhou to return and distribute them. When he returned home and saw these things, Xie Zhou was very happy. The piano is directly placed in the floor-to-ceiling window on the third floor, and the violin is also placed there. When Xing comes back, he will live on the third floor. From now on, his instruments will be there. If he likes anything, he can buy it. Xie Zhou distributed the things he bought for his son, and then looked at his wife and daughter. Jewelry, you two can sort it out, take whatever you like. No matter how expensive jewelry is, there is no great temptation for Xie Zhou. In the end of the world, he has seen many beautiful jewelry. In that kind of place, these jewelry are not even as good as a steamed bun. Finally there is the painting. As for this oil painting, Bright Moon, look where you plan to put it. Xie Zhou gave this choice to Xie Jiayu. Sure enough, Xie Jiayu was extremely happy, and immediately said that this painting was very valuable, so she could just hang it on their fourth floor. The fourth floor was where the study room was, and the atmosphere was more serious. She was painting on the fourth floor now. Xie Zhou specially put it all her previous paintings have been moved here, which can be said to be very considerate. Thank you, Dad. Xie Jiayu happily went upstairs with the help of the housekeeper. Although Lan Huan and Huo Feng didn't buy anything this time, they gained a lot of knowledge just by following Xie Zhou. These hundreds of millions of things can be bought casually. Placing it in the hall, it can be seen that Xie Zhou really doesn't care about money. When Huang Xinyu and Xie Jiayu both went upstairs, Xie Zhou looked at Huo Feng again. Xiao Huo, I know that your company is full of capable people, and you have done a good job in the things I asked you to do before. I really want to trouble your detective agency. When Huo Feng heard this, he immediately thought that Mr. Xie might be in trouble again. Mr. Xie, we tried our best to investigate a lot of information for you, and you paid a lot of rewards. My staff all said they hope they will meet a big boss like you every time. He was joking, but what he meant was that we are all people who understand confidentiality contracts. Since we have agreed to your matter, it will not be exposed, and the same goes for anyone else. Seeing that Mr. Xie wanted to use him as a white glove, Huo Feng knew that he had given him a commission of 50 million just for these small things found in this investigation. In addition, he received a supercar worth 50 million. Which is both hush money and solicitation. Huo Feng just finds it fun to be a detective. He wants to dig out some private things, see the malice of human nature, and make some money on the way. He actually invests in some projects personally, as well as the family trust fund. It is enough for him to eat and drink for the rest of his life. Oh! Since they are happy, I just have another thing that I want to arrange for you to help with. Do you know Xinggui Entertainment? I want the most detailed information about Xinggui Entertainment. The price is not an issue. From what channel? It's not a problem, you can buy it with money, I can pay for it. It is the easiest thing to destroy an entertainment company. As long as a scandal breaks out among the artists of this company, the stock market will plummet. If the company is exposed for tax evasion again, it will be almost blocked by the entire industry. So Xie Zhou asked Huo Feng to investigate. In fact, it is in order to get the handle of Xinggui Entertainment. Huo Feng's guess was correct. Mr. Xie had been keeping him by his side these past few days, and had also let him see Mr. Xie's financial strength in order to let him stay. To be precise, it was to let Huo Feng the entire private detective agency will stay. In this case, in the future, Mr. Mr. Xie, what I want to tell you today is that I plan to take my team back to Hong Kong. I don't know much about the entertainment companies in the mainland. If you want to investigate, you can also find a professional team from the mainland to investigate. He didn't dare to offend Xie Tingzhou, so he could only refuse. Lan Huan on the side was stunned, thinking why not make good money? With his small brain capacity, he didn't know about the lawsuit between the two people. Xie Tingzhou sat there and looked up at Huo Feng, who was standing there. He was obviously the one sitting in the lower position, but between the two of them, Xie Tingzhou's aura was the one with the highest position. Xiao Huo, isn't it necessary for young people to make money in their development work? I gave you 50 million before, how much bonus did you give to your colleagues in the company? As long as you handle this matter properly for me, it will be when the work is done for the 6 little guys under your command, I will reward each of them with a house in Shangjing City. What do you think? He said that each of Huo Feng's subordinates would be given an apartment, but Huo Feng heard the clear threat, and Xie Xinchen already knew that their team was actually quite small, but everyone had their own ability, everyone's division of labor is different. If Mr. Xie wants to impress people with money and poach them to serve him, then everyone is working and eating. How can you resist the huge temptation of money? A house in Beijing is worth at least 20 million, which ordinary people cannot earn in a lifetime. Looking at Mr. Xie in front of him with a wry smile, Huo Feng knew that he had encountered a difficult situation. They were not making things difficult for him and they were willing to spend the money. It was true that they just didn't want to let him go. Mr. Xie, I promise to help you investigate Xinggui Entertainment. Don't worry, I will give you the results within a week. When Xie Tingzhou got a satisfactory answer, he smiled, his slightly raised eyes filled with praise. There's no need to rush, half a month is enough. When your work is over this time, I will give each of your employees a house in Shangjing City, so that they don't have to travel back and forth for work in the future. As for you in Hongyu Lake, we live so close and we are neighbors. I will ask Lan Huan what you like later and give it to you individually. Who wouldn't want such a wealthy owner? But Huo Feng was really helpless. He really didn't expect that he came to the mainland from Xiangjiang because he was worried that Lan Huan would come to the mainland, but he would not be able to go back. Before Lan Huan figured out what was going on, Xie Tingzhou asked the two of them to go back and rest. Huo Feng also lived here these days, living next door to Lan Huan. As soon as he went upstairs, Lan Huan put his arms around Huo Feng's neck. Crazy man, why are you still reluctant when your godfather asks you to do something? It's not like your godfather won't give you money. He gave you 50 million in one lump sum before, so you should just have fun. Huo Feng, who was hugged by the neck, turned his head and saw the silly Lan Huan. He thought that Lan Huan was really holding him on his lap, but he was still stupid. I may stay in Shangjing City from now on. He said, not that he was reluctant to leave the staff, but that he suddenly wanted to see what kind of strange things he would experience if he stayed with this magical Mr. Xie. That's great. I will definitely be in Shangjing City in the future. How fun it would be for us to play together every day. The idiot Lan Huan didn't know that his friend had just been threatened and his home was almost stolen. Another night passed, and the 24-hour countdown to Xie Tingzhou's 5 billion mission to save his daughter entered. So Xie Jiayu woke up and had just eaten a few bites of breakfast when she was called over by her own father. In the living room are staff members wearing suits, each of whom is very enthusiastic, and a large pile of documents is piled up on the table. These people are all contacted by Life Butler. As Life Butler, they naturally know how to purchase some top luxury goods. If you have money, you can do many things. Dad, Xie Jiayu was extremely confused, which made Huang Xinyu, who followed behind, also bewildered. Lan Huan and Huo Feng also saw the information recommendations on the table. Island. I see that you like to go out with your brothers recently. When you get tired of playing at home, you can go abroad to play, so I plan to buy you an island. There are all the information here. Take a look and pick one. Xieting Zhou handed over several suitable ones that he had seen to his daughter, which really showed his attitude as if he were buying groceries. Before Xie Jiayu could react, Xieting Zhou continued. In addition to the island, I also plan to buy you a large yacht that can accommodate hundreds of people, and a private jet. The islands I have selected for you all have airports. You can choose from them. This money must be spent, so the remaining 2 billion can be spent as quickly as possible on islands, planes, and yachts. Ah, Xie Jiayu was stunned and couldn't even read the information. Why are you buying these? I don't want these. Dad, if you really have to buy something as a gift, you can give it to Zeng. Zeng hasn't seen you yet. Xieting Zhou thought about it too, but now the mission money would have to be spent on Xie Jiayu, so he was serious at this time. This island is where your mother and I are going to play. You thought you bought it for yourself, but you just asked me to sign it. I was too lazy to sign. As soon as he said these words, everyone was speechless. However, with Xieting Zhou's words, Xie Jiayu also chose obediently, and then watched her father swipe the card and sign. It didn't feel like he had so many assets all at once, it just felt like playing. Lan Huan and Huo Feng once again saw Xieting Zhou's arrogant financial power. If someone offended Mr. Xie could smash the other person to death with money, right? Huang Xinyu knew her husband was rich, so she didn't stop him. After all, she had a house to live in now, and she still had 20 million yuan given by her husband. With so many supercars for her daughter, she would not be poorer than before. Let her husband buy it. At least these things can be seen and touched. With Xie Jiayu's signature, after buying the island, private jet, and yacht, Xieting Zhou heard the sound of unlimited black cards. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for completing the task of protecting his daughter. The task money is 5 billion, and 2.5 billion will be returned. Please keep up the good work and spend hard. Seeing the new money in the card, Xieting Zhou also breathed a sigh of relief and felt that he needed to see his son first. Zeng, that child, might have been wronged. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 39. Xie Jiayu signed a lot of contracts, and with the help of the life butler, Huo Feng also helped. After all, the procedures for purchasing islands, private jets, and private yachts are actually quite complicated. If ordinary people want to go through it, I'm afraid I can't even find a way. These high-end luxury toys are open to the top wealthy people in the world. Of course, if some rich people really don't have the channels but really want to buy, that's okay, but they have to pay more. Although Xieting Zhou is rich, no one regards him as an enemy. At least Xieting Zhou's 4 life assistants dare not do this, not to mention Huang Yu and Xiaojiakai, who have seen Xieting Zhou handle things with their own eyes, let alone the other 2 helping Xieting Zhou deal with things in the villa every day, just the tens of billions of auction items that were auctioned off immediately, and the bodyguards that Xieting Zhou hired at a huge price before, made people dare not act rashly. Among the task funds allocated by the system before, it cost 80 million just to hire bodyguards. These bodyguards came from several bodyguard companies in Shangjing City and did not belong to one place. Some of them were responsible for driving and others were responsible for protecting the villa. There are people responsible for following Xie Jiayu out to protect Xie Jiayu's safety. There are 8 people working in shifts every time. In total, there are dozens of people working in this villa. It can be said that this arrangement is extremely meticulous. These bodyguards not only protect the owners, but also guard against competition among themselves. Moreover, the money given by Xietingzhou is too much. The monthly salary of more than 100,000 yuan is the base, and the bonuses given throughout the year are the bulk. Some of the servants who came to work in the villa later knew that if these bodyguards were injured while protecting Xie's family, they would be rewarded with a house in Shangjing City. Therefore, no one wants to challenge the methods of Mr. said several bodyguards from the bodyguard company. This time, after Xietingzhou just said that he wanted to buy an island for his daughter, the person who found the contact information and contacted quickly was not Huang Yu and Xiaojiakai, but another housekeeper with wide connections, so the matter was settled so quickly. Well done, I will give you instructions when I have arrangements in the future. Xietingzhou praised the butler. The butler, who was wearing a black suit and white gloves, was very reserved and nodded towards Xietingzhou. This is what I'm supposed to do as a steward. The name of this life steward is Zhang Yu's. From today on, he has officially performed with Xietingzhou and his name has been remembered. If 1 year later, there is still one among the 4 stewards who is not trusted by Xietingzhou, then that life steward will definitely it's going to be eliminated. When Huo Feng accompanied Xie Jiayu to sign the contract, he saw how these life stewards were fawning over Xietingzhou. He thought it was strange that Mr. The art of checks and balances even raises the people under his control like poisons. How do they look like ordinary people? At this time, look at Huang Xinyu and Xie Jiayu. They are ordinary people and have no understanding of the twists and turns in Mr. Xie's mind. After everything was signed, more than 2 billion yuan was spent. Although my father had spent more than 10 billion yuan in yesterday's auction, it was completely different from the feeling now. Now I look at those things. When I write my own name, it feels even more unreal. Mom, can you help me put these very powerful materials in the study? Xie Jiayu's act of coquettishness with her mother Huang Xinyu was actually to drive away Huang Xinyu. Huang Xinyu had given birth to such a daughter, and her daughter knew what she was going to do when she frowned, so she naturally had no objection and nodded. I'll put it on for you. There is a huge safe in the study room upstairs, which also contains the precious jewelry sent back yesterday. The only people in the family who know the secret are Huang Xinyu, Xie Jiayu, and Xietingzhou. This safe was given by a trading house and is very safe. It's high enough to put files in right now. After Huang Xinyu left, Xie Jiayu got close to her father. Huo Feng and Lan Huan were both smart people, so naturally they didn't get close to each other. They just took the promotional pictures of the islands to the side to look at these islands. After all, they wanted to see them in advance now. What if one day I can afford it? Dad, I seem to have been playing crazy these days. There is nothing in my mind. I forgot to ask you, how is Su Yunhan's matter? Mom doesn't know, right? Xie Jiayu still wanted to hide it from her mother, so now she wanted to know what happened to Su Yunhan. I had someone send it back the day before yesterday. I guess Mr. Shen has already taken action. Didn't you check Weibo today? After dealing with Shen Yan twice, Xietingzhou knew that this woman was not a soft-hearted person and would not let Su Liangzi go, let alone Su Yunhan who might hurt his son. Ah, Xie Jiayu was extremely surprised. She quickly took out her phone and took a look and found the latest hot search. Hashtag Jewelry Group Chairman Divorce Hashtag. Hashtag Shenchi Jewelry Group Chairman's ex-husband cheated Hashtag. Hashtag Sucks Economic Crime Hashtag. Hashtag Su Mumu's illegitimate son is guilty of smuggling Hashtag. Today's hot searches are all reserved for Shen's Jewelry Group. In order to send Su Liangzi in, Shen Yan can be said to have eliminated some of the cancer in the entire group. If her son takes over the group in the future, it will become simpler. Xie Jiayu clicked on the information about Su's illegitimate child. Inside was a police notice. It explained that the son-in-law of the chairman of Shen's jewelry group and his ex-husband Su had repeatedly stolen Shen's money to nourish the illegitimate child, which then caused the accident. His illegitimate son Su Momo committed various economic crimes and smuggling charges. There are also some other crimes, such as tax evasion and bribery. He's finished, he must have been arrested. Xie Jiayu gave this result after reading. Xie Tingzhou stretched out his hand, brushed his daughter's soft long hair, and said, Jiayu, you will still have a good life in the future. This time, Su Yunhan will be punished for several crimes and he will probably not be released in this life, so you don't need to go to the police. Mr. Shen will handle everything. Okay. Otherwise, I can't hide it from your mother. Since both of them have to protect each other and hide secrets, it is better for this well-known secret to be hidden from the beginning. Okay, Xie Jiayu understood what her father meant and knew that she should keep looking forward and not look back. The past days are past, and keeping moving forward is in line with Xie Jiayu's life. Dad, as long as I see the bad guys get their comeuppance, I will be happy. She was imprisoned in the villa for 2 years, but Su Yunhan had to pay the price for his crazy behavior. He would spend the rest of his life in prison for decades. Huang Xinyu came down at this time, and the father and daughter made a tacit agreement not to mention this topic again. In fact, they didn't know that Huang Xinyu, who was upstairs, had received a call from Shenyan and already knew about the matter. Information spreads quickly on the internet. The reason why Shenyan exposed these things, as well as the fact that Su Liangzi had an illegitimate child and lover, was to take down the Shen Jewelry Group. From a professional point of view, Su Liangzi's doing such a thing must have something to do with Shen's Jewelry Group, and the stock price will definitely fall after the news comes out. But Shenyan was good at public opinion. She directly put herself in the position of the victim, and then observed the public opinion, silently exposing how much Su Liangzi spent on his mistress and how much he spent on his illegitimate child. The key is that he is a son-in-law who had no money before marrying Shenyan, but now that he is rich, secretly using his wife's money to give to his lover. How could this make sense? Therefore, Shenyan quickly occupied the high ground of public opinion on the internet. Although the stock price of Shen Jewelry Group still fell, it did not fall as severely. For the sake of her own stock, Shenyan accepted an interview with the media at the busiest time at noon. Things really came to a head after the entire interview was released at noon. Because Mr. Shen of the Shen Jewelry Group directly stated that the reason why her ex-husband wanted to raise an illegitimate child was because his son had her surname, and he controlled the entire Shen Jewelry Group. In the future, his son Shen Yunlin would be the only heir. The ex-husband was not happy, and her son is a bit rebellious and likes the entertainment industry. As a mother, she naturally has to support her. Therefore, now her son is not engaged in financial or management work. Instead, he has entered the entertainment industry and became a star. This is also the biggest problem between the two. Misunderstand. #jewelry heir # instantly became a hot search topic. Following suit is the rapidly recovering Shen Jewelry Group. After all, compared to Shenyan and Su Liangzi, Shen Yunlin's image is simply too good. He is hard-working and unsmiling, and he is also the king of kings on the stage. He carries the rebelliousness of a noble boy. Who would have thought that he was actually born as a noble boy? 2 years after his debut, no one knows that Shen Yunlin is the heir to the Shen family. Good guy. Isn't this just that after #I don't become an idol, I can only go home and inherit the family business #? MC has also just finished dancing and is eating quickly to replenish energy. Then I heard Li Nangzi's shock. Woko. Brother Shen, you are so awesome. As soon as these words came out, everyone looked over and thought it was Shen Yunlin who was trending on the search. After all, it's normal for celebrities to be on trending searches. Are you really the heir to Shen's Jewelry Group? Li Nangzi continued to ask, but this sentence made everyone look at Shen Yunlin. Shen Yunlin was eating boiled meat. When he heard this, he rolled his eyes at Li Nangzi and snorted in his throat. Kindness. This is an admission. Oh my god. No wonder brother Shen opened a company when you said you would open a company for MC. It turns out he is the rich second generation hidden among us. It seems that I can only hold your thigh in the future. Guyun's hung is also very exaggerated. Boys are very casual with each other, so this kind of hugging thighs is also said casually. It turns out that your noble master is by my side, and the clown is actually myself. The quarterly banquet set up by the fans who speculated on the noble son's character is a small wealthy family. You said it is normal to have several million, but for someone like the Shen group, it is beyond your dreams. Xiezing also looked at Shen Yunlin with bright eyes. He was originally worried about whether his asking for 100 million would affect brother Shen. Now that he knows that brother Shen's family is very rich, he doesn't have so much pressure. When he signs a contract with brother Shen in the future, if he makes a lot of money, he must earn it back to brother Shen as soon as possible. Don't let brother Shen lose money. But it is said on the internet that brother Shen, your father seems to have divorced your mother, and there seems to be a mistress and an illegitimate child, do you know? The wealthy family was in deep trouble, and Li Nangzi suddenly felt that he couldn't control it. The others immediately glared at Li Nangzi, thinking that Li Nangzi didn't know how to look at people. How could he ask the person at that time so directly? Do you think you are reading gossip on the internet? Just ask. Li Nangzi suddenly felt aggrieved. Shen Yunlin, on the other hand, didn't care. He took a bite of the boring chicken breast and said, "Don't worry about my feelings. I don't have a good relationship with that father. You all know from the news that he is my adopted son-in-law. My mother's surname is Shen, so even if he grew up eating my mother's food and spending my mother's money, he still didn't like me, and even let people in his hometown bully me, and I finally kicked him out. So don't sympathize with me. I've had a good life these years. My mother is very good to me." As soon as these words came out, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Seeing brother Shen like this, Xiezing took the initiative to mention his father for the first time. "Actually, I have never seen my father since I was a child. He disappeared less than a year after I was born. Later, my mother kept calling the police to look for him. To this day, she still has to go to the police every month. After a visit to the police station, everyone said he was dead. Only my mother didn't believe he was dead and was still looking for him. But in my heart, I felt it would be the same with or without him. When we needed him most, he is no longer with us, and he is not that important to me anymore." Following Xiezing's words, several people in the MC boy group realized why Xiezing mentioned his mother every time. They didn't dare to ask any more questions. Now they understand that Xiezing has not had a father since he was a child, and his father has disappeared. Ah! So brother Shen, the two of us must work harder. It is very difficult for girls to survive in this society and they are easily bullied, so we must become stronger so that we can protect our mother. Xiezing used the word girl to describe his mother. In his eyes, even if his sister is older than him, even if his mother gave birth to him, she is still a little girl who needs his protection. Yes, Shen Yunlin nodded and stretched out his hand to rub Xiezing's hair. "Zing, I will help you. We will become stronger together and protect mother together." The atmosphere suddenly became warm, and the other three people also laughed. At this moment, a person came outside the door, the agent Liao Yun. Liao Yun broke the warm atmosphere when he came in. He looked a little embarrassed and didn't close the door. Instead, he looked at Xiezing in the crowd and said with some trepidation, "Zing, there is a man downstairs who says he is your father. Do you think I can let him come up?" In an instant, the other four MCs all looked at Xiezing, who had just said that his father had been missing for 19 years, with accusations in their eyes. Did you agree that dad is missing? Is this a father born out of nowhere? Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Jonghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 40. Impossible. He must be a liar. Xiezing stood up from his chair in shock. Looking at his agent Liao Yun, who had a strange expression on his face, he gave a very sure conclusion. His biological father had been missing for 19 years. A person who had been missing for 1 year might go home, and 5 years might also be possible, but after being missing for 19 years, this person must have either died or forgotten that he had a wife and son, right? How could he come back? And why would he come back? Why not look for his mother and sister, and himself? In an instant, Xiezing remembered the gossip about a female celebrity that his agent had shared with him. This female celebrity's mother was abandoned by her father after cheating on her. As a girl, she was not liked by her father. Her mother raised her up with great difficulty, and later she became a star to make money. As a result, her father came to find her with a licking face, and not only that, he also appeared on media programs just to ask for money. Could it be that, if the other party was really his biological father, he saw that he had become a star and came back to ask for money? Xiezing thought about everything in his head, and the 4 people around him were also very angry. Yes, brother Liao, don't just believe anyone. Xing just told us that his father has been missing for 19 years. If there really is such a person, why doesn't Xing know about it? What if he is really a liar? There are so many people who do whatever it takes for money these days. Gu Yunzheng is still a little worried that Xiezing is easy to deceive. After all, Xiezing looks soft-hearted and is the kind of person who is easy to be deceived. Yes, since that person said he is Xing's father, is there any evidence? Shen Yunlin also spoke up. Although he didn't understand the tricks, he still stood on the side of protecting Xiezing, fearing that Xiezing would be deceived by strangers. After 2 years of getting along, everyone can clearly understand each other's personality. Xiezing is the kind of person who easily trusts others, so the whole team protects Xiezing very well. I am also very surprised why your father suddenly came to you, but he is definitely your father, because he looks exactly like your sister and you, and, I don't think he is a liar. Whose liar drives a Mercedes-Benz G-Class worth more than 50 million? I only saw the car in the brochure, and the bodyguards following behind were all driving Mercedes-Benz, which looked scary. And the other party was polite and gave him his ID, and didn't even mind him bringing it up to show Xing. Impossible, my dad has been missing for 19 years. Oh, I have a photo. Xiezing suddenly remembered that he had a photo of his dad, and then turned around and ran to the room to get it, leaving the 4 MCS in the living room looking at each other, remembering that Xing had just said that he didn't care about his dad and felt that he was used to not having a dad in his life. But the person who said this brought all the photos of his father who had been missing for 19 years with him. Isn't this love? If it wasn't expectation, how could there be such behavior? After a while, Xiezing ran out of the room and took out a photo to show everyone. Look, this is my dad's old photo, 19 years ago, brother Liao, do you think the person below looks the same as my dad's photo? After reading it, the MCS thought it was no wonder that Xiezing looked good. It turned out that it was because Xiezing's dad was so handsome. Liao Yun leaned over to take a look. Isn't that what he looks like? He just told me that your father looks exactly like your sister, and exactly like the one in this photo, but younger. Oh, by the way, look at this, the ID card he gave me, saying it's to prove his identity, and I'm showing it to you. This new ID card, of course, has the 3 characters Xieting Zhou, but the man on it does look exactly like Xietunan in the photo. Xiezing was stunned for a moment, then shook his head. But my father's name is not Xieting Zhou, his name is Xietunan. What he wanted to say was interrupted by the agent, and Liao Yun added. Your father changed his name. He used to be Sietunan, but now he's Sietingjo. Let's put it this way, there's no point in us discussing it here. I'll bring him up for you to talk about it. If it's really not true, then we'll talk about it later. The other party looked so rich, not to mention the tens of millions of cars, just the slightly exposed watches, they were all Patek Philippe. He was really rich. Xiezing didn't say anything in the end, but agreed to meet this father. When Liao Yun went downstairs to invite people, the other four members of the MC boy group saw that Xiezing was frowning, and hurried to comfort him. Maybe it's really your father? If it's the real father, then your father will be back. This is Li Nangzi who thinks well, and Ji Yanli also nodded and touched Xiezing's head. If the other party is a liar, we will definitely make him pay for it. After all, there are so many young men, can Xiezing be bullied? So after a while, Liao Yun took Xietingzhou and the housekeeper upstairs, and the bodyguards even carried the gifts that Xietingzhou gave to the children of the MC boy group. In order to make his son feel valued when he met his son today, Xietingzhou specially selected a silver gray suit today. The whole person was tall, and now he was wearing a cold-toned silver gray, which gave him a sense of dignity that kept people away from him, and his aura was full. The housekeepers and bodyguards behind him were all in black suits, and they looked even more powerful. When they went upstairs and entered the room, they met the eyes of the 5 MC men's group. All of them were shocked because they had just seen the photo and knew what Xiezing's father looked like, but when they really saw Xietingzhou now, he was exactly the same as in the photo, biologically the same. The person in the photo was obviously 19 years ago, but now this person is still very young, not at all like a father, and a father of a 20-year-old boy. The moment Xietingzhou appeared, Xiezing was stunned. Compared with the shock of others, Xiezing's feelings were more intuitive. After all, Huang Xinyu would tell Xiezing and Xiejiayu about their fathers since they were young, so they were not unfamiliar with Xietingzhou. When they were young, the two often played with their father's photos. When someone occasionally said that they didn't have a father, they would also hold up the photo and say that their father was in the photo. But now Xietingzhou is like the father in the photo walking out. And it was obviously the first time they met, but Xiezing didn't know why, and felt extremely wronged. He just looked at the man in front of him, but felt that he wanted to say something, but couldn't say it. Zing, I'm Dad. Xietingzhou came to Xiezing, and then he found that his son's eyes had turned red without knowing when, and he felt like a wronged little rabbit, pitiful. Xiezing didn't say anything, and Xietingzhou once again felt helpless when facing his daughter for the first time. I know I came a little presumptuous, just want to see you in advance. I know you must be very unhappy about my disappearance for 19 years, but Dad will definitely make it up to you, and your mother, your sister, and I will always be together as a family in the future. Xietingzhou rarely spoke, a little stumbling, and what he thought in his heart and what he said seemed a little inappropriate. Xiezing still didn't speak, but bit his lip, and his eyes were fixed on the man in front of him, but he didn't let go. The two men didn't know how to greet each other, and the atmosphere was solemn and awkward. At this time, Xietingzhou also knew that he shouldn't make his son cry in front of his teammates, and gratefully changed the topic and sighed. You are all my son's teammates. I have seen your MC boy group's performance. This time I came to bring a little gift to each of you. Thank you for taking care of Zing for the past 2 years. As Xietingzhou said, the life manager handed over the gift that had been prepared long ago, which startled the 4 people. No, it's all right. We are all teammates and brothers. We take care of each other, take care of each other. The 4 people pushed and shoved and dared not accept it. After all, it was not known whether this was Zing's biological father. And this Mr. Xie is too young, right? He looks only a few years older than them, but he is Zing's father. But Zing's father seems to be very rich. Did he disappear for 19 years to start a business secretly? Now he has successfully started a business and came back to reunite with his son, daughter, and wife? Take it, Xiezing said dryly, which forced the four people to accept it. Perhaps it was the strangest fate between father and son. The moment Xiezing saw Xie Tingzhou, he felt close to this man from the bottom of his heart, and the kind of uncontrollable trust in this man. He had begun to believe that Xie Tingzhou in front of him was his biological father. Zing, it's not convenient to talk here. I'll take you outside to chat for a while. In addition, I just happened to tell you that I have met your mother. Now your mother and sister live with me. Today I came to see you alone. After 2 days, I will bring them to visit you together. Xie Tingzhou thought of using his wife and daughter to ease the embarrassment. Xiezing's eyes lit up when he heard it. Mom and sister live with you now. This sentence was an unconcealed excitement. Xiezing knew his sister's situation. If she lived with the man in front of her now, it would prove that her sister had escaped. What about Su Yunhan? How is Su Yunhan? Xiezing immediately said, sweeping away the strangeness of the man in front of him. Let's go out and talk. As long as his mother and sister are fine, it doesn't seem impossible for him to have another father. Just as the fans said, Xiezing is sometimes a little arrogant, and he is always cute at the right time. As soon as Xie Tingzhou saw his son agreed, he immediately took Xiezing downstairs to say hello to others. Liao Yun, the agent, followed him for the safety of his own artist. The four MCS who stayed in the room looked at each other, and then Li Nangzi burst into shock. This packaging is Bulgari, right? Bulgari watch? Real or fake? Gu Yunzheng and Ji Yanli also saw the gift sent by others and found that it was indeed Bulgari packaging. Then they saw that Li Nangzi had opened it, and they could only open it with him. Then the watch appeared in front of them, and it was obvious that it was worth a lot of money. Li Nangzi had never bought such luxury goods. The clothes and matching on her body were all purchased by the company, and she couldn't afford it. Now she took her mobile phone to scan it and was stunned. This Bulgari watch costs 560,000. Oh my god, I received a gift worth 560,000. The other two did not need to scan the code, after all, the watch was the same model but different colors. Shen Yunlin also opened his watch, but he was not polite and put it on his hand, and then he said casually. Don't worry, Mr. Xie doesn't care about this little money. The Patek Philippe on his hand is the global limited edition at yesterday's auction, and the auction price is 250 million. After all, he was born in a wealthy family, so Shen Yunlin could see through Xie Tingzhou's identity at a glance. He didn't expect that the mysterious rich man on the hot search yesterday was actually Xing's father. He is really powerful. And Li Nangzi, Ji Yanli, and Gu Yunzheng were all stunned. Thinking of this mysterious father Xie who spent tens of billions on an auction, his own son was right next to him. It was just that Xing seemed a little difficult before. If there was such a rich father around, it must be okay, right?